No doubt about it, North Koreans love Kim Jong-un. Women swoon over the supreme leader's baby-faced looks and white wall haircut. Men admire how such a young man can take charge of a nation of over 25 million people and turn it into one of the most influential countries in the world. Yep, North Koreans love Kim Jong-un for one very good reason. They don't want to disappear or get hurt if they don't show the adoration he craves from his followers, and that happens a lot. Before we get into James Bond mode to see how North Korea's supreme leader protects himself, make sure to like this video, subscribe to TheRichest, and join our notification squad. Now let's put on our bulletproof vests for the 10 crazy things Kim Jong-un actually owns just for protection. We'll start out by getting behind the wheel of that glitzy car that chauffeurs Kim Jong-un around to public functions. For no supreme leader motorcade would be complete without everyone's favorite dictator sitting in a Mercedes Maybach S600. It can be yours for around $1.6 million, but the sticker price is worth the investment of keeping Kim safe. Much of the car's cost has to do with the tinted bulletproof windows, the armored exterior panels, and reinforced floors strong enough to withstand a blast. And for that extra adrenaline rush that only world leaders crave, the S600 also features a 6-liter V12 engine that's turbocharged with a power of 530 horses under that sleek-looking hood. The interior is as luxurious as what you'd expect for a dictator with discriminating taste. Upholstery consists of smooth white leather with lots of legroom and captain seats that recline to address those comfort needs. A common sight when Kim's out on the town or doing the summit circuit are the 12 bodyguards he has around the car. Media wags call it the human motorcade, as these sharply dressed defenders of the supreme leader walk alongside the dictator in that glitzy Mercedes, presumably as an added layer of protection against assassins. Each bodyguard has to undergo a rigorous background check and fitness test and must have credentials in using weapons and possessing martial arts skills. They also must have perfect vision that doesn't require eyewear or contact lenses and pass one more test that's required by the leader. They also can't be taller than Kim. That's one odd criteria for someone wanting to join his entourage, but you have to question the necessity of having a human motorcade in the first place, especially when it's obvious that they don't wear bulletproof vests. The best thing we can think of to have them around is that they're present totally for show, since they get almost as much media attention as the very leader they protect. Besides the human motorcade, Kim Jong-un has 5 additional layers of security working for him whenever he's out in public, especially on those rare occasions when he's not in North Korea. The bulk of the forces chosen to protect Kim are controlled by the Guard Command, an elite unit of the military that's closer to the leadership administration in North Korea and one of the most privileged. And no wonder, the tasks given to them are wide-ranging and specific right down to the last detail. They do everything from jamming mobile phone signals to wiping disinfectant on anything their beloved leader might touch. According to a former security officer, Lee Young-kook, who defected from North Korea a few years ago, everyone involved in protecting the leader is brainwashed into believing they're guarding a bona fide god. Their ideological training begins in childhood when they're led to believe the only reason they were born was to defend the god against anything that poses as a threat. Which leads us to another oddity that the dictator has at his disposal. In this case, it's his own personal toilet. It's mandatory that the portable bathroom follows him anywhere his itinerary takes him. The contraption isn't all that elaborate, however. It's reportedly tan-colored, 4 square feet and 8 feet high, although there's no account on what type of facilities are housed in it. And there's always a guard on duty regardless of whether Kim Jong-un has to make a pit stop. Besides interest in anything the leader carries, there's a lot of intrigue over what carries the leader, namely the 21-car train that carries Kim Jong-un on those extensive trips outside North Korea. Like his Mercedes, it's also heavily armored and bulletproof. Inside, passengers can take advantage of the pink plush leather seats with several Apple computers within easy reach. It also carries an extensive supply of the imported red wines that are a favorite with the dictator, as well as opulent dining sets that include silver chopsticks. It's also an unusual mode of travel considering most dignitaries prefer traveling by air than by rail. But there's a rather complicated story surrounding Kim's preference. North Korea does have its own version of Air Force One, but it's a Soviet clunker called the Ilyushin IL-62 that after 40 years is beyond repair. He did borrow a 747 from China's government to catch a recent Singapore summit, but that only happened once. The brass in Beijing publicly made a big deal over Kim's reliance on Chinese assistance, and he was apparently too embarrassed to ask them for another plane for future engagements. It's well known that Kim has a palate for the finest foods and wines in the world and isn't afraid to spend a lot of money to satisfy his opulent appetite. His signature preference for imported red wine, especially Bordeaux, is well known among the elite he hangs out with, while his whole country doesn't quite get the same benefit. The finest sushi, caviar, and Kobe beef from Japan top the list of his preferences. Naturally, the security detail ensures that none of the food is touched by anyone wanting to make Kim's dinner the last meal he'll ever have. That includes a mandatory requirement that all the food comes from a special farm in the Yeongseong district in Pyongyang. And to ensure quality control, none of the food is produced in fields. Smaller amounts of what Kim likes are grown in greenhouses. On road trips, Kim does take with him one interesting item that ensures complete security while dining abroad. It's a special noodle machine that makes cold buckwheat noodles, called naengmyeon, a delicacy that's a favorite among the upper crust. Kim also makes sure that the noodles were prepared by a chef from one of the high-class restaurants in the North Korean capital. One safety measure Kim Jong-un uses is a tactic similar to what the likes of Winston Churchill, Saddam Hussein, and Joseph Stalin employed. All used body doubles, and it was revealed in 2018 that the Korean dictator might have as many as 2 working for him. Back in 2017, 2 of them were spotted at a missile test launch sporting the same girth, haircut, and high-class fashions for which Kim is known. They were seen smoking cigarettes and joking around the facility on what seemed to be a casual occasion. But the not-so-reality is that either of them who wind up as decoys at a public function could be vulnerable to an attack by anyone wanting to overthrow the dictator. So far, this marks the only time they've been spotted and photographed, and there's no account on whether they've been used at previous public functions. Bodyguards can ensure your safety, but what good is security in the long run if you don't have an efficient squad that can get rid of the enemies in your own country? It turns out Kim Jong-un has a select crew of these people at his beck and call. These henchmen can either be secretive by having the very people Kim scorns disappear forever, or they can make those dirty deeds public to those who need to realize who's in charge. Kim Jong-un used a firing squad to hurt 2 colleagues of his uncle, Tang Sung-taek, who was head of the National Defense Council at the time. In 2015, the same squads executed an army general, a deputy prime minister, and a deputy minister of North Korea's secret police. The number of Kim's eliminated enemies isn't widely known, but it's rumored to be in the hundreds since his ascent to power in 2011. If there's even a murmur of dissent from anyone in the military, Communist Party, or even his family, consider them targeted. Then there are the wacky rumors that can't exactly be substantiated but are too bizarre to ignore. One absurd anecdote was that Kim's father, Kim Jong-il, frequently injected himself with virgin blood in order to maintain a youthful look. Just as weird is what Kim himself ingests, not so much for his own protection, but to ensure that a Kim dynasty will rule North Korea for generations to come. One story that leaked in 2015 was that the dictator would drink wine laced with the cadavers of venomous snakes. The rumor has it that imbibing such a drink would apparently improve his virility, which to male dictators is important to ensure the masses you've got the manhood necessary to run a country. Finally, what dictatorship would be incomplete without access to a personal nuclear bomb shelter just in case things went sour on the home front? Like most ruthless rulers, Kim Jong-un has one at his disposal in case other countries have a bone to pick with his refusal to disarm his own nuclear arsenal. There's very little known about what's inside except for a stockpile of one unusual item. It turns out that Kim Jong-un is a fanatic about Swiss cheese. He literally has a lifetime supply of the stuff locked up in his apocalyptic hideaway. Word has it that he eats so much cheese he's turned diabetic, has a high blood pressure, and experiences frequent episodes of gout. At one point, he gained so much weight that a large cyst had to be removed from his ankle, and he disappeared from the public for a while. And if his love for cheese causes his state of health to drop to more critical levels, all the security in the world isn't likely to save him. Well, it's finally time to crawl out of our bomb shelter now that we've checked out 10 crazy things Kim Jong-un actually owns just for protection. Which one shocked you the most? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to The Richest.